Welcome to our weekly power hour. If you're new around here, we meet here each and every Tuesday at this time. It's 2 Central, so it's noon Pacific, 3 Eastern. And we do a variety of things, an info session, a members market. Sometimes we have speed networking and lots of other things. But today we are super privileged to have a guest speaker. And so after the guest speaker is done with her presentation, we will shut off the live stream and our members are here in the Zoom room so they can have some question and answer time with her and some fun open networking. So if you are interested in joining the National Association of Christian Women Entrepreneurs, you can find all that information at NACWE, NACWE.com. So we always like to say, we call it NACWE. It's not any prettier, but it's definitely shorter because the National Association of Christian Women Entrepreneurs is a mouthful. But we love it around here. If you're joining us for the first time or the first time in a long time, do hashtag new in the chat. And in case you don't know me, I am Heather Rawson. I am the president and CEO of NACWE. What we're going to present to you today represents the opinions of our guest speakers, of participants. It's informational only and definitely does not replace professional or legal advice, especially advice specific to your circumstances. So ultimately, you should be consulting God for direction in your life, but B, all of your professionals around you. We call them your A team, right? Which includes your bookkeeper, your CPA, your lawyer, all those people that help you in business. And so we are super privileged because today we get to hear from one of those people, right? If you ever wondered if you need a bookkeeper in your business, I'm just gonna like spoil her punchline here. You do, period. Right? But she's gonna talk about how to know when you need to work with the bookkeeper. So I have my own personal opinions, obviously. Next week, we're gonna do a members market, which is super fun. Last week we did speed networking. Members market is where our NACWE members get to come in here and they get to let you all know what it is they are selling that month. And so guess what? We're in business. We sell things all the time, every day, right? And as it should be. And then at the end of the month, we're going to hear from Audra Thompson on the ease of leadership. And so leadership is one of my favorite topics and I love it. And so I want to take a moment just to welcome our newest members of NACWE. As you can see here, if you guys want to reach out to me and DM with a voice memo telling me how to say your name, I would absolutely love that because I do not want to butcher it. In case you missed the announcement, Alexis Sands is now the director of the East Valley chapter. So welcome, Alexis. She is going to do an amazing job. She's already started, if you notice on the last page, one of the new members is from her chapter. So we're excited about that. If you live in one of the places that we have local in-person networking, or if you're traveling to one of these places as a NACWE member, feel free to come in, say hello, and meet with your local chapter each and every month. So here is the dates for the in-person meetings, when they typically are. It will always now be the chapter name.nacwe.com/network is the way to find those meetings, register for them. And our calendar, which is at nacwe.org, and then you'll see the calendar page. That calendar has every single thing we do as an association on it, including these in-person networking events. So coming up next week, we have Maricopa and Tucson, and then Rockwell the following week. And so we're excited for those. We have some chapters that will be opening very soon. We are also getting ready to do what we're calling a live director drive starting in August, mid-August. So if becoming a director of a NACWE chapter in your area is something you're interested in, let me know. I will get you that information, but just be aware that when we're doing that live director drive, that cohort of directors is going to be starting off in the fall. So that will be really fun, hopefully with some launch dates for January, February for new chapters. So before I turn this over to Carmen, I want to pray and then we'll jump right in. So Father God, thank you. Thank you for each and every person in the room, Lord. I ask that you speak to us, that you anoint Carmen to speak your will as we move forward into looking at bookkeeping. God, we know that being good stewards is super, super, super important to you. And knowing our numbers is one of the best ways to do that. It's an area I don't feel like I'm perfect in, Lord, and I definitely need some help. And so, Father, I just thank you. I just thank you for people with wisdom, people with skill sets that you have given them to help serve your daughters. And so I ask that you be in our midst. We know that you are, in Jesus' name. Amen. And I'm gonna skip most of these. Oh, I'm not gonna skip this one. If you are a if you are a NACWE member and you do not find yourself on the NACWE.org member directory, go into your portal, fill out the link to the form, send me a message, send Lindsay a message. I'll get you the link to the form. It's emailed out. If you look at one of your emails, it's probably on the bottom. So make sure you do that. So our verse this week is from Proverbs 10:4. A slack hand causeth poverty, but a hand of the diligent makes rich. And we have I love this quote. Life is like accounting. Everything must be balanced. And so now I want to introduce to you Carmen. I'm going to stop sharing. And Carmen, I am just so glad that you're here. I'm so glad that you said yes and that you're willing to share your expertise with the women in our community and with the free Facebook group as a whole. So welcome. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you. Yeah, it took Lindsay several times before I would say yes. But I'm here. So I'm glad I'm here. All right. Shall I start sharing my screen? That'd
be great.
Okay. All right, guys. So I am Carmen Flowers Anderson. I legally am still Flowers. I've been married to my husband now for a little bit, and that's where the Anderson comes in. So someday I'll just drop the Flowers part. But anyways, that's a whole nother story. I am the head bookkeeper and coffee maker here at Keeping You Balanced. My husband doesn't drink coffee, so I have to do it all by myself. Maybe someday I'll hire one of those people. So let me get started here and tell you a little bit about my peeps. First, I am very blessed to have been raised by an awesome set of parents on a farm in Indiana. They taught me loyalty, dedication, and hard work. And hard work will get you through those tough times. I watched it with my parents for many, many years. This picture is of my crazy big family. It didn't quite start out that large. It was my mom and dad, myself, and my two brothers that are twins. And mom said I was a built-in babysitter. I was only 2 when my brothers were born, and I was a bit of a tattletale, as they say. So I'm not sure if it was a babysitter or a tattletale. I think I was just trying to be helpful, but I don't think my brothers would agree with that. We, over the years, our family grew. As you can see, my youngest brother, Bruce, which is, I don't know if you can see my mouse, that is up here, not in the maroon shirt, but the one next to it. Bruce is my youngest brother, which his twin, which is standing right next to him, will always remind him that he is the youngest, only by 4 minutes, but they fight over all the time who's the oldest and who's the youngest, to the fact of like, I had to push you out or I had to pull you out, that sort of thing. So my brother and sister-in-law, Tanya, they were foster parents for 15 years, and they adopted 11 children. So I have 6 nieces, 5 nephews, and 2 great nieces that are not in the picture. I know that 11 is a lot. However, they had 55 children come through their home. So I figured that 11 is a pretty good ratio for what they could have adopted, but I truly feel like God handpicked every one of these children to be a part of our family. It's been a joy and a blessing to watch them grow up and be a part of their life. And last but not least is my best friend and my love, Bill. We met almost 32 years ago and lost touch. He was actually the best man in my first wedding. So there's a whole story there but God had some other plans and we kind of lost touch. And then about 15 years ago, we reconnected on Facebook, go Facebook, reconnecting all those people. And then 7 years ago, we reconnected again after his wife, Susan, passed away. And we get to do life now together and with my best friend. He is my biggest supporter, and we just celebrated 5 years of marriage in April. So this is our little family. I have a helper that sits on my desk all the time and holds down all my papers. That is Finn Chandler. He's my little cuddle bug, and our newest addition, Axel, is our little love bug. Is a desert rescue, so we rescued him from the desert. So if some of you are friends with me on Facebook, you know that Bill and I are big U of A supporters. We love hockey and football. We love going to college sports. And one of our biggest goals is we set a 5-year goal in 2020, and that was to sponsor a U of A tailgate. So that's coming up next year. So if anybody wants to come to Tucson, we'll let you know when it's at. And that's hopefully going to happen, that we'll have some friends and we'll just have a good time celebrating and tailgating. So that's one of our biggest goals, and hopefully we'll get to meet that next year. This is why I do what I do. I learned to love bookkeeping from my mom. She was a self-employed bookkeeper. She went home to be with Jesus 11 years ago last Friday, and she instilled in me helping people and helping those business owners know where they're standing with their books. And it was such a joy to watch her do that I just it was very infectious, and I'm like, I have to do that as well. So that's where I started. When I moved back home from North Carolina after my divorce, I was looking for a job, and my mom suggested that I do bookkeeping. I picked up a couple of clients and I met with a CPA. He started referring me out, and for cleanup work for a couple of his clients. It wasn't really in the books at that time, for God didn't want me to have my own business, or wasn't ready for me to have my own business. So I went into the corporate world and I worked for a medical software company, but I always kept those couple of clients because I love that, having my own business idea. And so I kept those couple of clients because I love helping put those puzzle pieces together so that business owners would know when they look at their financials, what are they looking at? I was very blessed to work for a group of gentlemen that they actually started 2 different companies. I worked for a total 6 years with one company with them, and then I moved over to their new company, worked almost 14 years there. And in 2017, they sold the business. And right about the year mark of the sale, the new owners decided that they had gleaned everything that they needed from me and decided to let me go. To say that I was a bit shocked and devastated, it's a bit of an understatement, because I had really given my heart to that company, and my entire identity was wrapped up in that company, which wasn't necessarily a good thing. And God knew that. And it was slowly wearing me down, because I was working anywhere from 60 to 70 hours a week by trying to keep everything going. But 4 days after I was laid off, my pastor at my church asked me, he's like, so any chance you're taking your bookkeeping full time? And I was like, well, honestly, I'm still grieving the fact that I was let go, but let me think about it. And it was totally a God thing, because within 2 weeks, God showed me that was his push. I needed that push off that ledge to be like, it's time. And I started my business in August of 2018 and have been going ever since. So how do you know that it's time to hire a bookkeeper? I get asked that quite often. And what questions do you ask them? So I'm going to go over a little bit about, first, how do you know it's time? And then we'll talk a little bit about some of the questions that you can ask that potential bookkeeper. So are you always feeling behind in your bookkeeping, never enough time to do your actual business? Or, time is definitely not on the side of a business owner, because there's always daily fires to put out. There's always customers to call. There's always things to keep your business, to do things for your customers and your clients, that working on your books and doing those entries and doing reconciliations and getting your financial statements ready is always like back burner. And, or it's always that little nagging in your ear. You sit down at night and you're like, I should really look at my books tonight, but you're just exhausted because you've like put out all the fires all day long. So if that's something, then it might be time to hire a bookkeeper. The other one is, are you always rushing to get your books done in time for taxes? Whether you file, I see you, Heather. It's like, it's okay. No judgment here. Believe me, doesn't matter whether you file April 15th or October 15th, are you rushing? Are you trying to like pull everything together? Also, do you understand where your business is financially? One of the worst decisions I see business owners make is they make spending decisions based on the amount of money that they have in their bank. And that's not a safe decision factor, because there are things that, number one, do you have enough money set aside to pay taxes at whether it be sales tax or income tax? Do you have that set aside somewhere? Do you have enough set aside for in savings? Maybe you have a month, maybe your business is kind of, I can't say that word, cycles. There you go. And so do you have enough money sitting aside to kind of get you through that time? So also, again, and even credit card balances, do you have enough to pay those credit card balances or put some money towards them? So you need to review all of those questions before you make that decision of like, well, there's money in the bank, and that applies to your personal as well as your business. Many people use that as their personal decision to buy something too. Or are you just like, I don't enjoy doing it? And believe me, I actually have some of my customers that love numbers and love doing the bookkeeping, but it still doesn't mean that you should be doing it. Because again, is it taking a time away from your clients? Is it taking time away from your family? Are you working your business all day long and then you go home and you sit down and you're trying to sit down and look at the books and your child is like wanting some attention, or you need to go to a baseball game or something like that? Maybe it's time to hand that off to somebody else. So if you are in that boat and you're like, okay, well, how do I find that person? What are some of the questions that I can ask? Here's a couple of questions we'll go through, because believe me, not every bookkeeper is a good fit for you. Not every client is a good fit for me. And I learned that the very hard way. So there are plenty of bookkeepers out there that, for instance, I don't have an expertise in restaurants, or most of my clients are very service-based. So I have one retail client, and I'm not sure that I would do another one, but I've gotten a little bit of experience. But at the time that I said yes to that client, I probably should have taken a step back and like, okay, I really don't have this experience. Maybe I need to pull in somebody else. So just because you interview a bookkeeper, you might need to interview several, as well as I've learned that, because I used to be like, no, I just want all the clients, but that's not everybody's a good fit, as I'm sure you guys know that in your own businesses. So the first thing to ask is experience. It doesn't mean is like, how long have they been doing books? It doesn't mean that you can't take a chance on somebody that's just starting out, but maybe they worked in finance before, or maybe they've, worked in a small business part-time or something. So maybe they have a little bit of experience. Talk to them and figure out what their experience is, so that you know whether that's a good fit for you, rather than just taking that first person. Also, like I said, for myself, I don't do restaurants. There's a whole different ball game with things with that sort of thing. So there's little quirks and special skills that, that takes to work with that kind. So find a bookkeeper that maybe works with your industry. And do they have references? Are they willing to give you their references? And check them out. Don't be like, oh yeah, they have restaurant references. Well, be sure you call them, call one or two of them and see, and check also for Google reviews, see if they have any of those, which I know I don't. I need to get working on that. That's something that you have to work on. I'll have to get with Heather to get that set up. So what type of bookkeeper do you need? Do you need somebody that is going to do everything? So you're doing everything, you're paying your bills, you're doing your payroll, you're doing all your transactions throughout the month. You just need to have somebody come behind you and kind of organize it and make it look pretty, so that at the end of the month, you know, you have a profit and loss, or at the end of the year, you have something to hand to your CPA rather than a shoebox full of receipts. Because trust me, a bookkeeper will charge you less than a CPA will to go through your receipts and help you organize them. So, or do you need somebody to help you with payroll? Maybe you have everything else under control, you've got it good. Maybe there's somebody actually in your office that's doing your book, but you don't want to share payroll information with that person in your office. Maybe you need somebody to help you with payroll, because there are all sorts of strict deadlines and taxes around payroll that you want to make sure that you're doing that correctly. So determine what kind of bookkeeper you need before you make that decision. The next thing is time. As business owners, how much time do you want to spend on it? And it's not always just actual hours. It's that, like I said, that nagging in the back of your head. I need to sit down, I need to do that. Or you're crawling in bed, you're like, oh, I didn't do my reconciliation last month. And before you know it, it's 6 months, and we are 6 months into 2024. You know, have you done any of your books for this year? So, are you wasting time that you could be building your business? Or are you missing deadlines? The biggest one, like I mentioned before, is payroll taxes, or even financials for loans that you might have. Maybe you already have some loans for equipment or something. You have to turn in financials for those occasionally. Are you getting those to them in time? And again, that filing of those taxes. If you are throwing things together to get the reports to your CPA right before tax time, are they correct? Yes, it can be filed, but it's much easier to have it correct first before you actually have to go file an addendum, a revised one. Because the numbers don't lie. Accurate financial reports are very vital for successful businesses. It can make the difference, could be the difference between paying taxes or even being qualified for a loan or equipment or something to help build your business. So you want to make sure that those financials are correct. Tax deductions are also something a bookkeeper can sometimes help you with. A bookkeeper can help you determine, can you write something off? You have to be very careful, because there are some very strict boundaries by the IRS and limitations. And so you don't want to step over those, because otherwise it's also known as getting in trouble. So for expenses, and I'll read what the IRS says, for expenses to be deductible, it must be ordinary and necessary for your business. If it's ordinary, it's a common and accepted for your industry, and necessary is one that is helpful and appropriate for your trade or business. For example, meals, they do have limitations. Just because you're in business doesn't mean you get to write off every meal that you eat. Maybe you go out to lunch every day for lunch. You can't write off every single one of those. If you do, if you're meeting with clients, you need to make sure that you're meeting with clients, potential clients, but then there's still only a percentage that the IRS will let you to write off. Every business is different. There's all different types of expenses. So please make sure that you run those past your CPA or your tax professional, and don't say, well, Carmen said that I could write that off, because I tell you the best of my ability. And I have several CPAs in my back pocket that I go to them and can they do this? But always check with your CPA to make sure, because you don't get to just buy everything and write it off for yourself when you're in business. So make sure that you are following the guidelines, and a bookkeeper or an accountant can help you do that. Why do you want to know where your numbers are? Why do you want to, whether you're doing it yourself or a bookkeeper is coming alongside you and helping you, You want to know what the cost of your business is, what it's costing you to run your business, because that will help you lead to the path of growth. Get comfortable with outsourcing. Find things that you absolutely want to do for your clients and come up with a plan to outsource the rest. I will be the first to say that was very, very hard for me because I tend to be a control freak, because I'm sure my husband, if he was here, he would tell you. But you have to let go of some of those things if you want to be successful in your business, because there's only so many hours in a day and you want to not try to kill yourself while you're trying to build a business. So you as a business owner started your business because you're passionate about something. Don't let the dread of doing your books take that passion or that joy away. Maybe it's client work, or maybe it's the back end, maybe it's filing, maybe it's time to look at hiring a virtual assistant, maybe somebody to help you with marketing, or a bookkeeper. So find those things that you can outsource and do it before you're totally ready and before you're totally like drowning, because there's times that I have felt like I don't have time to train that person, because you get yourself so drowned, you're drowning, that you're like, well, yeah, I need somebody, but I don't have time to do that. So make sure that you are figuring out what it is, because it will help you with that growth. Ask yourselves, 9 out of 10 CPAs suggest that you have a bookkeeper. Like I said, they will charge you way more to go through your receipts and organize everything for you. Some of them will. Some of them might call me and pay me and then still charge you a higher rate. So just come directly to the source to do it. So a few things that CPAs have told me, they said, we spend more time cleaning up books when a client doesn't have a trained bookkeeper. We would be better off doing it ourselves. So if you're in there, doing it yourself, then they're having to go behind you and clean it up. So make sure you're doing it right the first time. A lot of time, the non-bookkeeper causes more work and more time. We have so much work to do. We really don't want to spend any more time than we have to be able to help that client. It can take client time away from clients. I also met with clients that never realized how much paperwork is needed to be done when they get into business. So if you're starting up a business, or somebody that's starting up, it's more than just going out and like selling selling that product or talking to somebody about your passion. There's several things you need to do behind the scenes first. So find somebody that can come along beside you and help you. So if you know somebody that could benefit from a bookkeeper, I would be happy to talk to them, be that person. And like, I just hired a bookkeeper. Isn't it time that you did it too? My desire is to not just do your books for you, but I will happily do, but I also love supporting and training people. So, some people, they want to know, and I strongly encourage business owners to know what's going on in their books. Don't 100% rely on your bookkeeper. They need to know what those numbers mean. So I love coming alongside of my clients and helping them understand what a profit and loss and what that means about their business, and so that they can understand to make financial decisions in the future. Sometimes it's hard to know where to start. So just have them give me a call, or you call me. I do free consultations. I sit down, it can either be, if you are in Tucson, I'm happy to sit with you, otherwise Zoom, do a 15-20 minute call of what do you need? What are you expecting? I kind of do a little interview process, and, like, what do you want from this? So I can help people walk through those processes and realize, is it time to get a software to help it? Are we still at the level of doing it in Excel? I suggest not pen and paper. It really needs to be like Excel or QuickBooks or Xero or something. So, but I can help them walk through that step by step and guide them and teach them, or I can do it for them. So if you know somebody that needs this, or yourself, and would love to set up a time, I would be happy to help, so that making that next deadline of taxes a lot easier, whether that's the October one coming up or April of next year. I'd love to be able to make that stress go away so that people aren't, they're not like, I just can't think because they just have too many things on their plate. So that is my presentation. I thank you guys for listening. Stop my share.
Thank you so much, Carmen. I just wanted to say, A, thank you for sharing your expertise with us. Again, I'm going to reiterate, like, if you're asking yourself if you need a bookkeeper, just go with yes. Just go with it. It saves so much time. And then one of the things when you were talking about getting comfortable outsourcing, I was like, yeah, like in your business as the person who owns the business and runs the business, you really should be the person who's like paid the most, right? So if you can't afford to pay somebody else to do your books, it means you can't afford you to do them either. So get somebody else to do them and spend that time making more offers and making more sales and making more money. So you can keep paying other people to do the things you don't like to do. Yeah. So we're gonna shut off the live stream and so if you're here in the room, we're going to spend some time with Carmen. You can ask her all the questions you want. If you're a NACWE member who's out on the live stream and you want to jump in the Zoom room, it's not too late. We're still here. And if you are not a NACWE member yet, again, we would love to have you. We always say, welcome to the place you've always belonged. I'm telling you, the women in our community are powerhouse women, and I am honored to know every single one of them. And so I just want to say that if you want to join us, we would love to have you. So may God bless you and keep you and make his face to shine upon you. Have an amazing week. Okay. Does anybody in the Zoom room here have any questions for Carmen?
I want to say thank you. I already sent you an email for a client of mine.
Awesome. Thank you. Sorry, I had to like move the cat that likes to sit on my papers off my desk. So.
Carmen, as a fellow bookkeeper, what an incredible presentation.
Oh,
You really did that very, very nicely and put it at a level that every business owner can understand. So I'm going to reach out to you. I think we can
awesome.
work together in some ways. So
yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
So yeah, like you were talking about, right? Like you don't like doing all of the things. No, as far as right, like no bookkeeper really does. They all have the things they really love to do in their specialties. So yeah, great, Tina.
They do. And personalities have to mesh too, right? Carmen?
Yes.
That's not, it's not a one size fits all, that's for sure.
So I really appreciated this because for those of us who are not that numbers minded or finance minded specifically, it's important that someone like you guys, Tina and Carmen, make us feel more comfortable, with the numbers and the dollar signs and things like that. It will never not need that. We do need that. And I found myself thinking out loud in the chat room and explaining when I was the president of NACWE, I needed a bookkeeper and a CPA.
Yeah.
Well, and all the other things too.
Right.
And I had a private practice as a licensed counselor. I needed a CPA, a bookkeeper, a CPA, and we had a lawyer on retainer so that anybody who had a question, and we didn't have crucial questions, but he was very helpful in several conversations. And then as a nonprofit manager, needed all three. And you know what? We needed all three before we started.
Yeah.
Wish I'd known that. And then now as a sort of refired sort of halfway person, I'm trying to do my own bookkeeping, based on what I know. And I still use a CPA, and we still have, a lawyer, estate and trust lawyer, and that sort of thing. So I just found that very interesting. And I thought, even now I probably don't need to be doing my own bookkeeping because this is too complicated. Look at all the things. There are too many variables that you understand that we might miss. And so that was a real eye opener for me. And then but the question here, now to the question, thank you for waiting. When I was younger, and this was the bazillion years ago, for learning to budget and handle our own in-home finances, not business related at all, right? We went to Larry Burkett and Dave Ramsey and all the things. If I did want some more information, the simple version for me on just doing my own bookkeeping for my ministry and for my home, do I still reach out to those same places, or do you have a favorite place to go or a favorite book to use? Or because they only seemed to, in the olden days, they really only addressed your personal finances. They didn't address your business finances.
They didn't. Dave Ramsey has expanded a little bit. For a while, he had someone, Christy. Oh, I moved my bookcase. I have her book, but I moved my bookcase. I can't see it. They've expanded a little bit more into the business side. So they're still a great one to go to, I feel. I'm trying to think if he's probably my biggest one that I still go to. For business, there's a couple of them out there called Profit First. I personally have not looked into that one. Some people love it. It was a bit overwhelming even for me as a bookkeeper. To me, simple is better, especially when it's your own personal or, a smaller business. I tell people, let's start, I actually spoke with somebody yesterday. She just started business a couple of months ago. And she's like, do I need to get QuickBooks and all the things? And I'm like, let's wait and see. Let's get together in a few months. Let's put it into Excel. Let's organize it and see where we are. Maybe not until January you need something. I'm never about telling somebody, yes, go get all the things. And before long, they're like overwhelmed with the stuff that somebody has told them to do. My thing is let's keep it as simple as possible. Let's first get everything organized, and then we can kind of review it and see where do we go for, keeping it organized of what's the best way. So I know that was a roundabout way that didn't really answer your question, but I'll look for some resources. I don't, besides Dave Ramsey, I'm not really sure.
I would say Carmen Anderson is a great resource herself. And if you guys don't know this, when she says she teaches, she really does. A lot of her clients are like a one-time client. She teaches them how to do their books effectively so that they can do it on their own. And I think that's one of the things that makes her unique. She's actually even looking at probably creating some things around that. I don't know. I've told her that a million times because she's really great at educating. So I think no matter what you're looking at, her education is amazing. One of the things I wanted to say about Carmen, I had to say this, is not only are we so blessed to have Carmen and NACWE Tucson, and she's a great friend of mine. What she does with finances, what I have found, especially, I don't know why it's so interesting, especially with women, is being uncomfortable with money in all sorts of ways, right? Not just making it, but how to manage it. What do we do with it? And I feel like one of the things I love the most about Carmen is how how non-judgmental, and she's like, hey girl, I'm with you. I understand. It's a very, I find in finances, people are not as understanding and humble and graceful. And that is how the gift that God has given Carmen at like 100-fold. So she's so great at all of those things and educating and supporting. So Carmen, I'm proud of you for doing this today. And you know how much I love you, but I just had to say it publicly too.
Thank you. Yes, Karen, Profit is a program. It's a book. But like some of the other ones have said in there, it's very complicated. The number of accounts that they make you set up to start, I'm like, anyways, I'm not saying it's a bad program. I think some people have loved it, but it was like, I actually took over bookkeeping for somebody that had started Profit First, and they were like, they just got overwhelmed. And so again, I like to keep things as simple as possible because I want my business owners to understand it as well as, because they need to know what's happening, and so that they can make decisions and that sort of thing. So
I was just going to chime in on the Profit First. And I put in the chat that it was complicated with all the accounts, but what was really important for me at the beginning as a business owner was to understand the principle of paying yourself first, which it really did a very good job of conveying and telling you how to kind of go about doing that. So the principles behind it, I was then able to apply to, you know, different software that I use that helps me with my budgeting, that I didn't need to open 9 accounts to make that happen. I just have column items for each thing.
Yeah.
But it did introduce the importance of, you know, not being the scrappy entrepreneur who's always eating last because everybody else has took part of their budget first. So I'm not telling you it's better than that 100% today, but you know, at least I know where we're going and I know what I'm working towards and incrementally working towards those percentages because of that book.
Very good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we do so many times as business owners, we tend to not pay ourselves, or we pay all the other things first. And that's why, you know, it's always important to know what the bottom line is so that you can pay yourself, or where do you, you know, is there areas that you can trim or cut so that you can pay yourself? Because otherwise it's an expensive hobby, you know. And I was going to just comment on, so my brothers were, just to tell you guys, my brothers were born in 70, so we're a bit older. That was back before ultrasounds. So my mother did not know she was having twins. They only heard one heartbeat. And so it was when my first brother, Alan, was born, when all of a sudden the doctor was like, we have a problem, people, there's another baby coming. And so so nowadays, I don't think that would happen, but yeah, they were only 4 minutes apart. So
even if you know there's twins coming, it can be a lot. It's a lot to prepare for one child.
it is, yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
My
Am I-
twins were born 13 months after their older sister, so I had 3 kids under 13 months at one point,
Wow.
and then we were done.
Yeah.
So can you hear me?
Mhm.
My
Yes.
internet keeps fading in and out. I'm traveling and it's raining. I have another question I always ask if there are, so Tina and Carmen, if there are bookkeepers in the room or CPAs in the room. Years ago, I said to somebody, I don't even have a similar mindset about money that aligns with God's mindset on money. And I asked, you know, does anybody recommend a book? And of course I got 15 people recommending a book on tithing. And I thought, no. I really want to think like he thinks. So what would you recommend? I only got one book from anybody so far. What would you recommend? And why aren't you writing it? That's the other question.
I'm not a writer. I don't know, Tina, do you have I'm going to look up. I actually, the crazy thing is I just met with somebody, it's a group, 2 other ladies yesterday, that we are looking to put together a small little conference, or not a conference, like a workshop about women and money. And because the mindset that we have about money, and especially Christian women so many times, is like, oh, it's bad, you know, and changing that mindset. So one of the ladies actually gave me a couple of names of books, and let me pull them up really quick. So Tina, if you know of any, while I'm looking it up.
So I don't, and that's an area that I have a shortcoming in, quite honestly. Having been a single mom most of my life, raising my kids on my own, I got pretty good at dealing with the money issues. Can I match that into what God expects us to do with our money? Probably very poorly, quite honestly. And Carmen, put my name down, please, for that workshop.
Okay. All right, I
would love to
will.
join you and develop in that regard.
Okay. Let me find my tablet, because I had it with me yesterday. Oh, here it is. Hold on.
Hey, just really quick too, because I just got in my car, but starting in July, we're gonna have a monthly money mindset call in NACWE on the 2nd Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific. So just heads up, FYI.
Awesome. All right.
I just wanted to say too, like, look at our Arizona peeps coming out. Like, we've got a big Arizona presence here today.
Yeah.
Very proud of that. And I love all of you, but it's fun to see Arizona NACWE growing so much.
All right. I apologize. My tablet, I think, got hot yesterday and in the car, and so it didn't want to start up.
You're not allowed to apologize. No. You can, if you give me that information, I can post it on the link to the video.
Okay, I will do that. And yeah, we are working on some dates for that workshop. It's probably going to be towards the end of August, 1st of September. So I'll let Lindsay know when that happens.
Yes, please.
And
We would love to promote that.
yeah.
Like we said, or, you know, like we hear, we all need it. And yeah, I did totally harass Carmen to come on one of our lives, like I think since what, March or something.
Well, she did start to ask me during tax season and
Yeah, that was
prepping for
so
tax.
unfair.
And so, and she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, all right, get back to me later. And so
yeah, way later. Yeah.
Yeah.
And but yeah, she's been a huge support system, like not just for counsel, but she's helped us with our church finances too. Yeah, to say that in every area of our life, even if you don't have, you know, a bookkeeper for a long time, at least establishing your system. And that is what I love about Carmen, is that she'll always assess what you need and, you know, take from there the parts that you want, and we can supplement with whatever we have the time or the bandwidth for our own team. And we can just kind of meet in the middle of that. And so she's always so considerate of, you know, again, what your financial situation is, what your abilities are, what your system, again, to even just keep reiterating her own words, that she really does love that, like what is ordinary and necessary, and what your particular customized needs are. So she is amazing about that. And I love that you do have that as far as ministry experience. You have worked with church finances. So to say, you know,
yeah, 2 of my clients are church. Well, I guess 3 of my clients are churches.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So if you do need any extra support.
A lot of bookkeepers, and just real quick, a lot of bookkeepers will be like very niche. They'll like do only certain things. It's like a little box. I just found with myself, we cater what our clients. I have some that all I do is once a quarter, I go help her pay her payroll taxes. Others, I just touch their stuff once a month and organize everything for them. Others is just training. They, you know, basically have me on speed dial. And others, I'm actually doing everything for. I'm like their HR person. I'm like, I do their payroll. I do everything. So it's like, it's a lot sometimes, but it's like, I just found that that's the way I love to minister to my clients, is to cater it to what they need. So 2 books that Nancy, a friend of mine that's a coach, suggested. I have not read either one of them, but I'm going to be looking into them because we're using them for this workshop we're doing. The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel, Housel, and God and Money by John Cortines, Cortines, and Gregory, Baumer.
Thank you.
So name that the second one. I got
The
the
second
first one in the
one?
chat room.
God
and
and Money by John Cortines, Cortines. It's a dual author, John and Greg, and then the other second name is Gregory, Baumer. Baumer. So she said that they were really good books. She started to read them. You know, it just kind of helps with that, figuring out that mindset around money, because so many times, especially, you know, in a Christian settings, there can be that connotation of money is evil, but it, you know, it can be, but there's also good about it. And, you know, how do we how do we go about doing it with the good? So.
Yeah. Well, we want to make it go further so we can give more, right? So it really just, yeah, like you said, really comes down to, are you using it as a tool or are you using it to,
right, for evil.
Yeah.
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 So.
Well, awesome. Awesome. Is there any other questions? Thank you for those books, by the way. That's really
You're
huge.
welcome.
Maybe
We can all read them
have-
together. I
Yeah,
haven't read them, so I can't recommend it, but just they were recommended to me. So
Yeah,
I will, I'm looking forward to reading them. So
I think that'd be great.
Just a caution, I just went to pull them up on my Kindle. There's like 6 books called God and Money by a whole bunch of different people. So
make sure you get
check the authors
okay.
on those.
Good to know.
What's your favorite part of doing what you're doing, bookkeeping, payroll, whatever? Do you have a like specific part you really like? Is it?
I love watching a business owner when their eyes are like, what, like they understand something, they comprehend something, that I have either made something, taken it and organized it in such a way that, and not really in such a way, it's just so many times they look at their P&L, their profit and loss, and they have no clue what it means. They're like, they just see, or they're like, I'm working my tail off and money's coming in, but I don't understand why there's no money in the bank. And sitting down and saying, okay, I love doing comparisons month to month or quarter to quarter, and be like, all right, your income increased, but so did your expenses. And if your income increased by 2%, but your expenses increased by 6%, there's a problem. You've got to make sure that that's a ratio of, and coming up with tips of like, where can you cut? We took a client of mine really quick. I know we have a couple minutes of a hairstylist in town. She's a dear friend of mine, but my husband and I did, and he's worked more with vendors and stuff. And so he has all that knowledge of getting, and she was still going to Sally's to get all of her coloring and everything. And he's like, oh, no. You're doing a high enough volume. They need to be coming to you and giving you a discount and doing, and so really like working with our business owners of like, where can they cut some of those costs? And then all of a sudden at the end, they're like, wow, I had no idea.
Yeah.
And I love that look on their face and the pure joy in their face of like, I really can do this. It's going to work. So
I love that.
And for me, it was when I stopped crying right now. I know we are at the end of time and I want to honor your time as well. Danica, would you mind praying for us out?
Would love to. Thank you, Lord, for just a reminder about and tips and strategies about our payroll, taxes, bookkeeper, etc. Lord, thank you for all the connections here. Thank you for new aha moments. We ask a blessing on Carmen and all that she does. Thank you for her ability to speak, her willingness to speak, and the clarity in which she speaks. Lord, continue to bless her company, bless her business, bring new clients her way, and Lord, give her just wisdom as she services people in a very difficult area for many businesses. And Lord, we ask a blessing on NACWE, continue to grow our relationships as godly women and business owners, Lord, and continue to make those connections that are all for your glory and for the kingdom. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you, Carmen. Appreciate you. I know you're a very busy lady, so I really appreciated you taking the time to carve out for today.
No problem. I enjoyed it. Thank you.
All right. Love you, ladies. Same time, same place next week.